Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is gonna be a nice Tuesday. Currently 60 degrees, high of around 70, and got a 25% chance of some precipitation. Yeah, around dinner time, around 6 o'clock tonight. So, uh, nice day for the most part. Uh, Even if we do get a little rain after this weekend, I'll take it. What a gorgeous weekend the Lord provided for us. Um, my oldest took me fishing Sunday evening for Father's Day. I haven't actually gone fishing since we moved up here, so it's been like 2 years. Uh, yeah, we're into our third summer, so wow, time really flies. It is at sunrise is 5:01, sunset 8:37. So the last time I did the um, weather report and the time of the days, it was 5:01 and 8:36. That was on the 13th. So 4 days later, we only gained a minute of daylight. It's going to start slowing down. It has started slowing down, and it's going to start going the other way here pretty quick. So, little housekeeping. Today's my last work day, um, and my contract will be fulfilled for this school year. And as it gets warmer and warmer, I think I'm gonna switch my workout times and um, my time to get on here with you guys. So it'll come I don't know, an hour or so, maybe two later, just because as it's so hot during the um, as the morning creeps in, and I don't have the time constraints or the time obligations to be at work at a certain point. So um, I'll probably flip flop those, and so I'm not working out and when it's getting hot again. So um, we'll see. And so we're jumping back into Esther. We're in Esther chapter 5, you guys. Esther chapter 5, and Esther has just learned that Haman has um, kind of bamboozled the king into making a decree that destroys all the Jews in the land. Um, and so Esther finds out. She calls for a fast. We looked at fasting a little bit. We only spent a couple days looking at fasting. You guys, there's so much more on it. Um, I encourage you to check out Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58 is essentially a whole chapter on it. Um, if you want to know more about fasting, uh, I encourage you to look at it more, especially if you feel like the Holy Spirit is laying that on your heart. It is a spiritual warfare weapon, and there is a closeness with you and the Lord. And in my experience, it's only been successful if it's been done in the Spirit. A lot like my prayer life is only successful if it's done in the Spirit. So, um, and they go hand in hand, prayer and fasting. And in that prayer and fasting, with the power of the Lord on you, um, it can literally, um, exercise the demonic oppression on folks. Like, so anyway, uh, if if you're being called by the Holy Spirit or a pressure from the Holy Spirit, your prayer life is off, you need a fast. Um, One, do it, and look it up and check it out for yourself. So then, Esther chapter 5 and verse 1, picking up. On the third day after fasting, the third day of fasting, okay, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace in front of the king's quarters while the king was sitting on his royal throne inside the throne room opposite the entrance of the palace. So she put on a royal robe. She wanted to be noticed. She wanted to uh, look right for the king. Now, the Lord, He takes us as we are. And, I totally get that. And, we don't necessarily have to dress up to go to church. We don't necessarily have to dress up to be in front of the Lord. But I do think there's something to be said for trying to present yourself as a proper sacrifice to the Lord. Okay. So I do think, you don't have to be in designer clothes, but be clean, right? You don't have to be in a suit and tie, but be clean, right? Wear something outside of your normal attire, right? And for me, a lot of times, going to church is kind of dressing the same way I dress to work. And depending on where you work, going to church could be dressing down a little bit, right? It could be. It's but doing it for the Lord, right? Do it for the Lord, okay? And he does see us all the time. We don't have to get dressed up for him to see us, okay? And I think here Esther, if she would have went in front of him in her regular queen attire, he still would have saw her, right? He still would have saw her. Verse 2. And when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won favor in his sight and held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Okay. So that moment was a very tense moment for her, because the decree is, and the law of the land, which is final, it's finite, it doesn't change. It was life and death for her. If he didn't find favor in her, she would be put to death, because she went in without being invited. Okay? But he found favor. And that the golden scepter, that it's the representation of the finality of the law, right? And the I guess the court system of the Philistine kingdom, the Philistine dynasty, I guess. And in that, him putting it out and her being able to touch it, she fulfilled the law. She was deemed righteous and justified. Okay, she was deemed justified by the king. So she's okay in the courtroom. She's saved, if you will. Now, that golden scepter and him sitting on that is many times preached as a metaphor or an allegory for the Lord and how he will rule his church, and how he will rule, not just judge the church, but also judge humanity, right? Also judge humanity. It's going to be a final judgment, right? It's going to be, when we sit in front of the Lord now, and we give an account, or when we sit in front of the Lord and he decides, were we saved, were we born again or not, were we regenerate or not, is it going to be heaven or hell? And that judgment is laid on you. There's no changing. There's no oh man, I'm in the hell line, let me receive the Lord now. No, that's not how it's going to work, right? It's going to be a final judgment. And those of us who are regenerate, born again, and justified will be able to touch the golden scepter. Okay? Now, I do think there is some analogous um, precepts here, right? The analogies, it does apply in some ways, is what I'm saying, but it is not completely to be spiritualized. This really did actually happen. Okay, it really did actually happen, and the Jews made a holiday over this. Okay, they made a holiday Purim over this. So if that's not evidence enough that this actually happened, I mean, I don't know. Verse 3, and the king said to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given you, even to the half of my kingdom." That's how much he loved her and how much favor she had with him. He'll give you half of the kingdom, right? What is your request? And, you know, you guys, when we go to God, we shouldn't go with fear, right? There should be no fear in us when we do that. When we go to God and we're being judged, if we have Christ, it should be no fear, right? If He's given us the golden scepter and we've touched it, there's no condemnation gonna come upon us at that point, right? Let us go without fear. And Esther said, "If it please the king, let the king and Haman come today to a feast that I have prepared for the king." And the king said, "Bring Haman quickly, so that we may do as Esther asked." So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared. Now, does the king need anything from us? Absolutely not. Right? No, he doesn't. But he is pleased to show up for us. He is pleased to want to come to eat with us. Isn't that a wonderful place to be? Isn't that a wonderful place to be, that the king will come off his throne and come down to us? That is a wonderful place to be. And it's, like Esther, in, does she feel unworthy? I don't know. Does she feel like this is um, something that any human should have to do, or in some way feel like this is below her? I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't get that sense from reading this and what I gather from her characteristics. I think she's probably grateful that the king is coming down to eat with her, probably. Um, and when we do this, and we sit back and we do these studies and we think about how this person was acting, and why, with a feeling behind it, it's conjecture unless the Bible specifically says, right? But this whole time, she's been compliant and walked in this humble grace. I have to think that she is, kind of grateful that the king would come and eat at her table. I know this, though, if this is a metaphor for God eating at the table with us, and God does come and eat at my table, and would come and eat at my table, I am backflipping in my chair, y'all. Right? Backflipping in my chair. Anyway, that's enough for today. I'm running out of time here. Guys, have a great day. And I'll catch you tomorrow.